Leora Hawthorne stood in front of her ornate mirror, adjusting the straps of her stunning designer dress. The fabric shimmered as she turned, catching the light just right. Tonight was another lavish party, another chance to dive into the sea of popularity that she had grown to love. The excitement coursed through her veins like a sweet rush. She smiled at her reflection, imagining the compliments she would receive. "You look amazing, Leora," she whispered to herself, her heart racing at the thought. But then, the sound of laughter drifted from the hallway, pulling her attention away from her reflection. It was a familiar sound, one that sent a wave of memories crashing over her. She turned her head slightly, her heart skipping a beat as she recognized the voice. Tessa, her childhood friend, the one who had shared countless secrets and dreams with her beneath the stars. Tessa had arrived at the elite school, a place where Leora had learned to navigate the tricky waters of social status. As Tessa walked into the room, her presence seemed to light up the space. She wore a simple but beautiful outfit, her hair flowing freely. Leora felt a pang of nostalgia wash over her. "Hey, Leora!" Tessa called out, her voice warm and inviting. But Leora's heart sank a little. She knew that Tessa, with her unrefined style, was like a fish out of water in this world of glamour. "Hey, Tessa," Leora replied, forcing a smile. Inside, a battle raged. Her popular friends had already started to whisper about keeping their distance from anyone who didn't fit the mold. Leora felt their eyes on her, urging her to choose between her past and her present. "You should come to the party tonight. It'll be fun," she added, trying to bridge the gap. Tessa's eyes sparkled with hope. "Really? I would love that," she exclaimed, her excitement palpable. But Leora felt the weight of expectations pressing down on her. The laughter echoed from her group of friends down the hall, and their judgment hung in the air like a heavy cloak. As the party began, Leora watched Tessa try to mingle with the elite crowd. She could see her friends struggling to fit in, her laughter unable to break through the cold veneer of the popular kids. Leora's heart wavered. She heard Tessa's laughter again, this time mingled with the hollow sounds of superficial chatter. Was it worth it? The thrill of being popular was intoxicating, but the sight of Tessa, looking lost and awkward, was painful. "Leora, come on, we're taking pictures," one of her friends called, pulling her back into their circle. Each snap of the camera felt like a reminder of the choice she had to make. She could either stand by Tessa or embrace the glamorous life that seemed to sparkle so brightly. "Let's get a picture with just us," another friend suggested, nudging Leora away from Tessa. Leora hesitated, glancing back at her childhood friend. Tessa stood alone, her smile fading as she caught Leora's gaze. For a brief moment, everything froze. The laughter, the music, the world around her, all of it faded away. "Come on, Leora, don't be a downer," her friend urged, pulling her back into the crowd. Leora took a deep breath, feeling the pressure mount. She made her decision. "I'll be right back," she called to Tessa, but her heart knew it was a lie. As the night wore on, the laughter of her popular friends filled the room, but Leora felt a hollowness inside. She had chosen acceptance over loyalty, and the weight of her decision pressed heavily on her chest. Tessa's laughter echoed in her mind, a haunting reminder of what she had lost. In that moment, surrounded by glitz and glamour, Leora realized that the choice she had made would stay with her, a shadow lurking in the corners of her heart, waiting for the day she would have to face it. As the days passed, Leora Hawthorne found herself lost in the whirlwind of high school life. The laughter she once shared with Tessa felt like a distant echo. In her mind, memories of their friendship played like a movie. They used to lay on the grass, staring at the stars, dreaming big dreams. "One day, we'll be famous," Tessa had declared, her eyes sparkling with hope. Leora smiled at the memory, but the happiness quickly faded. Now, things were different. Leora watched from a distance as Tessa struggled to fit in. She sat alone at lunch, her tray untouched, while the popular kids laughed and chatted around her. Leora felt a knot form in her stomach. Guilt washed over her like a cold wave. She was part of this crowd now, but at what cost? "Leora, come sit with us," called out Jenna, one of her popular friends, waving her over. Leora hesitated, glancing back at Tessa. Tessa looked down, her hair falling over her face like a curtain hiding her pain. Leora's heart ached, but she forced a smile and joined Jenna and the others. "Did you see the new guy? He's so cute," Jenna gushed, flipping her hair. Leora nodded, trying to keep up with the conversation, but her mind drifted back to Tessa. She could see her friend out of the corner of her eye, a sad expression on her face. "Leora, are you even listening?" Jenna's voice snapped Leora back to reality. "Yeah, sorry, just thinking," Leora replied, her voice trailing off. "About what? You need to focus on us. We're the ones who matter now," Jenna said, her tone sharp. Leora felt a pang of frustration. Did her friends really believe that? As the days turned into weeks, Tessa's rejection by the popular crowd became clearer. Leora saw the way her friend's smile faded, how her laughter became less frequent. Tessa tried to join in on conversations, but the others ignored her, whispering behind her back. Leora could feel the weight of her silence grow heavier with each passing moment. One afternoon, as Leora walked down the hall, she heard Tessa's voice. "I just want to be part of something," Tessa said, her tone filled with longing. Leora stopped, her heart racing, but she turned away, afraid of what she might say. "Why doesn't she just try harder?" Jenna had said once, dismissing Tessa's struggles. Leora had nodded, but inside, she felt a storm brewing. She knew Tessa was trying. She was brave, facing the harsh reality of high school alone. The emotional distance between Leora and Tessa grew wider. Leora filled her life with parties, glamorous outfits, and the thrill of being popular. She forgot what it felt like to be true to herself. The laughter of her friends drowned out the voice in her head, telling her to reach out to Tessa. One night, Leora attended a party at Jenna's house. The music pulsed through the air, and the room was filled with laughter and flashing lights. Leora danced and laughed, but the joy felt hollow. Her eyes wandered to the corner of the room, where she spotted a girl sitting alone. It took a moment for her to realize it was Tessa, her expression distant and sad. "Isn't she just sad?" Jenna said, rolling her eyes. "Who needs that kind of negativity?" Leora felt a surge of anger. "She's not negative. She's just different," she replied, her voice shaky. "Different? More like a loser," Jenna scoffed, turning back to the crowd. Leora felt a fire inside her, but she remained silent, torn between her loyalty to her friends and her heart. As the night wore on, Leora found herself leaving the party early. She walked home under the stars, the cool breeze brushing against her skin. The memories of Tessa flooded back, reminding her of the girl who once brought her so much joy. "What have I done?" Leora whispered to herself, the weight of her choices heavy on her heart. She felt like a stranger in her own life, lost in a world of popularity that no longer felt real. The rift between her and Tessa felt as wide as the night sky, and Leora knew she had to make a choice. But as she lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, she wondered if it was too late to bridge the gap. Leora Hawthorne stood in front of her bedroom window, staring out at the world beneath her. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the neighborhood. She should have felt happy. After all, she had everything she thought she wanted: popularity, nice clothes, and a circle of friends who surrounded her. But today, the thrill of her status felt different. It felt hollow. Her friends had become more like shadows, always lurking, but never truly present. They laughed and smiled, but Leora sensed something was off. They seemed to want her for her connections rather than for who she was. "Leora, you should totally invite Jake to the party," one friend had said earlier that day, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "It would be so much more fun if he came." "That's the plan," Leora had replied, forcing a smile. But inside, she felt a pang of discomfort. Was that all she was now? A ticket to the popular crowd? As she sat on her bed, the weight of her decisions began to crush her. She remembered how things used to be with Tessa, her childhood friend. They had shared secrets and dreams beneath the stars, feeling like the world was theirs. But now, all that felt like a distant memory. The sound of her phone buzzing broke her from her thoughts. It was a message from one of her friends. "Did you hear about the scandal? It's all over school." Leora's heart raced as she read the message. A shocking rumor had spread, and she was right at the center of it. "Leora, you have to do something," one of her friends said in the hallway the next day. "This will ruin your reputation." "I didn't even do anything," she protested, her voice barely above a whisper. But inside, she felt the walls closing in. The whispers and stares from her peers felt like daggers, each one piercing deeper into her heart. As the days passed, her so-called friends began to turn away from her. The laughter that once filled her life was replaced by silence and betrayal. Leora felt utterly alone. She wandered the hallways, her mind flooded with confusion and sadness. She caught a glimpse of Tessa across the cafeteria. Tessa was laughing with a group of students, her smile bright and genuine. Leora's heart ached as she watched her friend thrive without her. Why had she chosen popularity over loyalty? The memory of Tessa's laughter echoed in her mind, reminding her of the bond they once shared. It was a bond she had willingly thrown away for the sake of fitting in. The guilt washed over her like a wave, leaving her breathless. That night, Leora lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Thoughts of Tessa filled her mind, and tears began to fall. "I miss you, Tessa," she whispered into the darkness. "I'm sorry." The next day, Leora gathered her courage and decided to confront her feelings. She pulled out her phone and typed a message to Tessa. "Can we talk? I need to explain." She hesitated, her finger hovering over the send button. What if Tessa didn't want to hear from her? What if she had moved on? Taking a deep breath, Leora pressed send. The message disappeared into the digital void, and she felt a mix of fear and hope. A few moments later, her phone buzzed. It was Tessa's reply. "Sure. Where?" Leora's heart raced. They agreed to meet at the park, a place filled with memories of their past. As she walked there, she felt a knot of anxiety forming in her stomach. What would she say? When she arrived, she saw Tessa sitting on a swing, looking as if she belonged to another world. Her hair danced in the breeze as she swung gently back and forth. Leora felt a rush of emotions, joy, regret, and longing. "Tessa," she called softly, her voice trembling. Tessa turned, and for a brief moment, their eyes locked. Leora could see the surprise and hesitation in Tessa's gaze. "Leora," Tessa replied slowly, her tone cautious. "What's going on?" I need to talk to you," Leora said, stepping forward. "I've made mistakes. I chose the wrong people over you. I'm sorry for how I treated you." Tessa's expression softened, but Leora could see the hurt still lingering. "It really hurt, Leora. I thought we were best friends. I didn't understand why you abandoned me." "I know. I was caught up in everything," Leora admitted, her voice cracking. "I really miss you, and I want to make things right." The silence hung in the air between them, heavy with unspoken words. Finally, Tessa nodded slowly. "I miss you too, but it will take time for me to trust you again." Leora felt a glimmer of hope as they stood there, the memories of their laughter and shared dreams swirling around them. In that moment, she realized that perhaps, just perhaps, there was a chance to rebuild what had been lost. As the school year progressed, Tessa Thompson began to shine in ways Leora Hawthorne never expected. Her artistic talents blossomed, catching the eyes of both students and teachers alike. Posters of Tessa's artwork adorned the hallways, vibrant colors and bold strokes that spoke of her creativity. It was a stark contrast to the loneliness Leora felt, her own world dimmed by the choices she had made. Leora stood in the corner of the crowded cafeteria one afternoon, her heart heavy as she watched Tessa interact with a group of admirers. Laughter echoed around them, and Tessa's smile lit up the room, a beacon of joy that Leora had once known so well. "Look at her," Leora muttered to herself, bitterness creeping into her voice. "She's everywhere now." Her friend Mia, perched on the edge of the table, glanced at Leora. "You should talk to her, you know. It's not too late." Leora shook her head, the weight of regret pressing down on her. "How can I? I hurt her. I turned my back on our friendship." "People can forgive," Mia said, her tone gentle but firm. "But you have to take the first step." As the days turned into weeks, Leora found herself increasingly isolated. Her so-called friends had abandoned her, now more interested in Tessa's rise. Leora felt like a ghost in her own life, haunting the peripheries of the vibrant world Tessa had created. The whispers of gossip that once felt exhilarating now stung like acid. The turning point came unexpectedly during an art exhibit held at the school. Leora received a flyer in her locker, announcing Tessa's showcase. As she read it, a wave of both excitement and dread washed over her. "I should go," she whispered, though doubt clung to her like a shadow. At the exhibit, the gallery buzzed with students admiring Tessa's work. Leora lingered at the back, her heart racing as she gazed at a painting that captured her attention. It was a swirling blend of colors, expressing emotions of joy and sorrow. Beneath it, a small plaque read, "Finding strength in vulnerability." Tears stung Leora's eyes as she realized it was about their friendship. Suddenly, Tessa appeared beside her, a soft smile on her face. "You came," she said, her voice warm. Leora turned, her pulse quickening. I wanted to see your work. It's amazing, Tessa." "Thank you." Tessa beamed, her eyes sparkling with pride. "I'm glad you like it." An awkward silence fell between them. Leora felt the urge to reach out, to bridge the gap that had grown so vast. "I'm sorry, Tessa, for everything. I should have been there for you," she managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. Tessa's expression shifted, the joy fading momentarily. "You left me, Leora. I felt so alone." "I know, and I regret it every day," Leora admitted, her heart aching. "I let the pressure get to me. I forgot what really mattered." Tessa studied Leora's face, searching for sincerity. "It hurt to see you with them, laughing while I struggled." "I never meant to hurt you. I was scared," Leora confessed, her eyes welling with tears. "You've become everything I wished I could be. I lost myself trying to fit in." Tessa's gaze softened. "I found strength through my pain. I turned it into my art. But that doesn't mean I've forgotten how much I cared about our friendship." Leora took a deep breath, feeling a flicker of hope. "Can we start over? I want to support you, be there for you, like I should have been." Tessa considered her words, the air thick with unspoken feelings. "Maybe we can, but it will take time, Leora. Trust is not easily rebuilt." "I understand," Leora replied, determination filling her voice. "I'm willing to try." As they stood together amidst the vibrant colors of Tessa's artwork, a sense of possibility began to bloom. Leora realized that while the journey ahead would be challenging, it was one worth taking. In that moment, she felt a glimmer of hope, knowing that the first step towards redemption had been taken. Leora stood outside the art room, her heart racing. She could hear laughter and chatter inside, but it felt like each sound was a reminder of her mistakes. She had practiced her words 100 times, but now they felt trapped in her throat. She took a deep breath, touched the cold metal of the doorknob, and pushed it open. Inside, Tessa was surrounded by classmates, her artwork displayed proudly on the walls. The colors danced under the bright lights, but Leora's eyes were fixed on Tessa. The girl she once knew was now a force of creativity and strength. Leora wondered if she could ever reach that level of confidence. As she stepped further into the room, the chatter quieted. Tessa turned, her smile fading as she recognized Leora. The air grew thick with tension. Leora's palms felt sweaty as she took a step forward. "Tessa," Leora began, her voice barely above a whisper. "Can we talk?" Tessa looked at her, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. Why should I? She replied, her tone sharp. You chose popularity over our friendship. Leora winced at the truth in Tessa's words. I know, I was wrong. I am so sorry for how I treated you. I thought being popular was what I wanted, but it was all a lie. I lost myself, and I lost you. Tessa crossed her arms, her expression hard to read. Do you even understand how much that hurt? I felt so alone. I thought we were best friends. I do understand, Leora replied, feeling tears prick at her eyes. Every day since then has been a reminder of how I betrayed you. I should have stood by you. Tessa's gaze softened slightly, but the hurt was still there. You don't just get to apologize and expect everything to be okay. It's not that simple. Leora nodded, her heart sinking. I know it's not. I wish I could take it all back. I want to make things right. I want to support you, Tessa. Your art is amazing, and you are amazing. I've seen how strong you've become. Tessa looked down at her feet, her voice barely audible. Art was my escape. I poured my pain into my work. It helped me heal, but it didn't erase what happened. I see that now, Leora said, stepping closer. Your art is beautiful. It shows your strength. I want to be part of your life again, if you'll let me. Tessa met Leora's gaze, a spark of hope flickering in her eyes. It's going to take time. Trust doesn't come back overnight. I understand, Leora said eagerly. I'll do whatever it takes. I want to support you, to prove that I can be a better friend. Tessa studied Leora for a moment, her expression shifting from anger to contemplation. You really mean that? You're not just saying it because you feel guilty? I mean it, Leora insisted. I've learned so much about myself since we drifted apart. I want to be true to who I am, and that includes being there for you. In that moment, Tessa's demeanor softened further. Okay, she said slowly. Let's take it one step at a time. I don't want to forget what happened, but I also don't want to keep pushing you away. Leora felt a wave of relief wash over her. Thank you, Tessa. I promise I will work hard to earn your trust back. As they stood there, a sense of understanding began to bridge the gap that had formed between them. The memories of laughter and shared dreams flickered in Leora's mind, reminding her of the bond they once had. I have a new project I'm working on, Tessa said, a hint of excitement in her voice. Would you like to help me? Absolutely, I would love that, Leora replied, her face lighting up. I want to be part of your journey. Tessa smiled, a genuine smile that warmed Leora's heart. Let's see where this takes us. As they began to talk about the art project, both girls felt a sense of hope. The conversation flowed more easily, and the tension slowly faded. They were still healing, but now they were on a path toward rebuilding what had been lost, one step at a time. Leora stood in front of her closet, staring at the clothes that once defined her. The designer pieces hung like trophies, reminders of a life she was slowly leaving behind. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her past choices settle on her shoulders. I can't do this anymore, she whispered to herself, a spark of determination igniting within her. With a new resolve, Leora began to sort through her wardrobe. She pulled out the sparkly tops and trendy skirts, items that had once brought her joy but now felt like chains. I need to be me, she said aloud, tossing them into a donation bag. Each item that left her grasp felt like a small victory in her journey toward authenticity. Later that week, Leora met Tessa at a local cafe, a cozy place filled with the smell of coffee and pastries. Tessa was already there, sketching in her notebook, her brow furrowed in concentration. Leora approached her, a mix of excitement and nervousness bubbling inside her. Hey Tessa, she called out, waving. Tessa looked up, her face brightening at the sight of Leora. Leora, I didn't expect to see you here. She closed her notebook and set it aside, giving Leora her full attention. I know it's been a while, Leora said, sitting down across from her. I've been thinking a lot about us, and I want to help you with your art. Tessa blinked, surprised. Really? You want to help me? Her voice held a hint of skepticism, but there was also hope. "Yeah," Leora nodded. "I want to support you. I've realized how important our friendship is, and I don't want to lose it again." Tessa smiled slowly, the warmth of Leora's words melting away the ice that had formed between them. "That means a lot to me. I've been working on a new project for the school art show. I could use someone to bounce ideas off." "Let's do it together," Leora said, her heart racing with excitement. "I'll help with whatever you need." As the days went by, Leora and Tessa fell into a rhythm. They spent afternoons painting and drawing, laughter filling the air as they shared stories and dreams. Leora watched Tessa's creativity flow, amazed by the talent her friend possessed. "You should really consider showcasing your work at more events," Leora encouraged one day. "You have a gift, Tessa." "Thanks, Leora," Tessa replied, her cheeks flushing. "It's nice to have someone who believes in me." Their bond grew stronger, but challenges still lurked in the shadows of high school. One afternoon, as they left the art studio, they overheard a group of popular girls whispering. "Look at Leora, hanging out with the art nerd," one of them snickered. "How desperate can she get?" Leora felt a pang of fear rush through her. She turned to Tessa, searching her friend's face for reassurance. "I don't care what they think," Tessa said firmly, her eyes blazing with determination. "I'm proud of who I am, and you should be too." Leora took a deep breath, feeling Tessa's strength seep into her. "You're right, I won't let them get to me," she agreed, standing a little taller. As they walked away, Leora reflected on how much she had changed. She no longer craved the approval of the popular crowd. Instead, she found joy in the simple moments with Tessa, in their shared laughter and creativity. One evening, as they sat on Tessa's porch, the sun setting in a wash of orange and pink, Leora spoke up. "Tessa, I've learned so much since we started hanging out again. I see now that true friendship is about loyalty and understanding, not popularity." Tessa smiled softly. "I'm glad you feel that way, Leora. It takes courage to change, and I'm proud of you." Leora looked at Tessa, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you for giving me a second chance. I promise to be a better friend from now on." In that moment, Leora understood the true meaning of forgiveness. It was not just about mending the past, but also about building a future filled with trust and respect. As the stars began to twinkle above, she felt a sense of peace settle within her. With Tessa by her side, she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that their friendship was worth fighting for. Share this story if you believe that true friendship can conquer even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a time when reconnecting with a friend changed your life, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one.